Holly Longdale, how World of Warcraft is now different. Yet for the next 30 years, it looks like WoW is changing, and Holly Longdale has some things to say about it. Let's see what Bellular figured out here.
Welcome back. Today it's actually quite exciting. I caught up with Holly Longdale, who is the executive producer of World of Warcraft, at a press event, and now that she's essentially running the show, rather than get into the sort of small details of Alpha, I actually wanted to go big picture. What's different with World of Warcraft?
Nice.
How has the team changed? How has World of Warcraft developed? What does Holly do? How does the team run?
What does Holly do?
It's pretty damn cool. We get into some plans for even beyond the War Within. Some fundamental things that Holly thinks the game has struggled with in the past and in the recent past, and how she wants to fix that sort of thing. So, it's a really fun interview, and I guess with that said, let's start by getting into just what Holly actually does when she goes to work.
Okay, nice. I didn't know he did an interview.
It's funny how, I feel like the executive producer job is unique at every studio. There is a lot that happens from day to day, from what's our long range strategy? Like, what is the plan? And that's me gathering, Ian, Frank, who's our technical director, our production director, he's the one that really is the specialist on moving the widgets around. And I have the fortune of relying on all of them when we come up with this strategy, that we get this alignment. Can we actually do it? And then part of it is, I feel like Ian's going to have great regrets about me saying this, but, I lean on, for many obvious self-explanatory reasons, I really rely on Ian as my partner.
I give Ian a lot of credit. I feel like this guy's stuck around through some really hard shit. This guy's eaten some shit from the community. And you got to remember, this guy used to be a player. And he's been around for some good expansions and for some not so good expansions. And I'm surprised he is not retired yet. He must love what he does. In all honesty, he must love what he does. And I feel like sometimes he gets a bad rap. But at the end of the day, he's stuck around, man. I feel like he loves the game and he loves his job.
But I'm also...
He was an elitist jerk. He was in the elitist jerks, yes.
If there's disagreement. I felt Ian's pain in that moment. I'm joking. He's the most... one of the
I feel like Holly's done a
gracious
good job,
people
too.
I've ever worked with, as are all of my directors. So we have this really aligned leadership team, and I'm relatively new, and they've been incredibly gracious and very supportive of me. We get along very well.
Her jacket
we
was
see
pretty
the
damn
game
cool.
very similarly. That it's our time now to evolve. It's our
have a realm to destroy.
Cookies, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge.
time to look at the future of WoW, and very meaningfully beyond, no offense to our PR folks, it's not a PR statement to say that we are aiming for the next 20, 30 years.
This is the best thing they've done.
Because this game is so vibrant and has so many players.
I think it's the long-term view that they're taking now, and whether that's a Holly Longdale thing or somebody else started this initiative, it's a really good idea. Because all of these systems, we got really sick of this whole AP grind and, expansions feeling disconnected from the game. Like you play an expansion, and if you liked it, well, too bad, you're moving on to the next one. And if you didn't like it, well, great, you're moving on to the next one. But they were completely detached from each other. And it made the game feel disconnected at times. Like your character's been through so many different stories and they're kind of unrelated. And now it's going to be like expansions are going to come faster. They're going to be highly related, and we're going to have this saga, right? So we're going to feel like we're playing out this massive story that's going to last so much longer than we're typically used to. And the systems themselves are going to feel connected, right? Like you've gotten used to a system, it's going to continue on through a bunch of expansions.
We would never abandon it. It wouldn't make any sense, and I think you know that. So there's that side. There's the giant strategy side. We've grown the team, and within the strategy, we've got this live team now. We've got the team that's doing the War Within.
Yes, and these team divisions. It's been so good for content cadence. For sure. I feel like we've gotten such a good cadence of content in Dragonflight, and that's only going to continue forward. They've been hitting the roadmap, man. They've been knocking that shit out. They have not fallen behind. It's been really good to see, and I think this team division thing they did has been the reason why.
Team working on Midnight, and we also have people working on the last
freaking 3 expansions out.
And Classic. And frankly, Warcraft 3 Reforged and the RTS side of the business, which all falls under my my
Damn, they're doing a lot
umbrella.
of shit.
So I rely on a lot of incredibly talented people to help put this puzzle together in a way that's healthy for the team. And I'm sure you can imagine for the past year and a half, as we grew into this 8-week patch cadence with, you add that to the mix. That is expansion and live team threading together.
Right.
We've created this complex recipe for how we get content to the audience. And from a day-to-day basis, from the team as it's grown a lot. If you look at, BFA days, it's significantly larger because we're doing quite a bit more.
They need it to get
we
bigger.
Want to invest in Classic, and we've started that too, and that's probably apparent by the number of things we've been doing with the Classic team.
Yeah, Season of Discovery, like making Classic probably was just like a how do we get this old shit into new shit kind of thing. But Season of Discovery has become like its own expansion, its own franchise basically. And the fact that they're creating they're creating new raids for this thing. So I mean, they must have a massive team at this point because they're basically working on 2 games simultaneously.
So I'm sort of a juggler at the high level. And then part of that too is making sure that, as Johanna's come in as the president, and even before
that's right, I forgot they have a new president.
Making sure they're informed. Certain John Haidt, obviously, my boss and an incredible partner, making sure that I'm supported and that he's aware of all the myriad things we're doing. And then it's the human side. It's my role to make sure that the team, as best
I still
we
think
can,
Blizzard has one of the best art
nuance
teams, man.
and where we
They're
need
so
to
damn
go
good.
and what's our vision and what's our mission. Making sure we have communication plans around that. I mean, it's everything you could imagine and more. Reviewing, let me tell you, this is one of the things I love about my job. There's many things. Motivating people, morale. It's been challenging.
Yeah, I'm sure, man.
But the team is endlessly passionate and
yeah, I'm sure they went through their times, firing as many people as they did, the merger and everything when Microsoft went through and hacked a lot of people out. I don't think the World of Warcraft theme was that affected. I heard it was a lot of like Overwatch and other teams related to Blizzard Activision. But even if it's not your team directly, when you're seeing everybody around you getting fired, that could definitely blast morale. When you're showing up to your job afraid if you're going to keep your job or not every day, that's not a good thing. That's not good for a work product. So I'm sure that was a big part of the whole merger and everything is trying to ensure people like, hey, you're gonna be fine. Don't worry, we got an expansion to work on. Let's get to work.
Really invigorated by the reaction from the community with what we've been doing. But I get to see the early versions of the cinematics and make sure that like they're good to go. And I've seen, they're so good.
Oh shit!
That's one of the things I love.
There's a rumor we're gonna see Khadgar in cinematic form, by the way, which will be wild. I hope he doesn't die.
I get to work with
Just
Metzen,
saying.
So it is day-to-day meetings from 9 to whenever, but is the greatest joy of my life.
I got it.
I've never done anything more rewarding. I've worked with a lot of talented people in my time, but this is like taking it to 11. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm very lucky, and I get to talk to you. I get to work with the community, and I'm super excited by that too. But yeah, you can.
What's up, Rob?
You have to be cool with multitasking. Yeah, and shifting and context shifting a lot.
Yeah, one thing that they're doing, like working on the next expansion, is not new. That's for sure. That's not a new concept. We know that they've done that before. But one thing that is new is supporting the current game and working on the next expansion and even the one after that simultaneously. Because we all know Legion was great, but if you remember when they went all hands on deck with Legion, what did they do with WoD? They abandoned that shit. That thing went dark mode, man. We got nothing for like a year. So they basically took all the teams that were doing current content WoW and said, you know what? It's time to work on Legion. And they abandoned the current expansion. Now what they're doing is they got a current expansion team, they got a next expansion team, then they got one after that. That's crazy. That's why we feel like now we don't get droughts anymore. Like it's just content all the way to the expansion. And I hope it continues to be that way. I think this the way they're working, and obviously the team's probably bigger now. That's why they can do this stuff. But it's much better.
sometimes there were times I would be in a classic meeting and reference the modern game and vice versa, because you just sometimes when you get close to ship,
Yeah, it is. It's definitely great. 18-month expansions.
get
Yeah.
people to help you along the way.
Yeah, the expansions are going to be shorter now. That's what they said.
Yeah.
Can we expect more?
Yes, expect them.
Good.
So, and there's a few reasons. So, Plunderstorm.
It was so divisive, man. Plunderstorm was great. Whether or not you PvP, I'm so happy that they did it. It was a fun experiment for sure.
In that effort, full transparency, we knew a bunch of, WoW's doing a BR. Okay. We knew that was going to be part of it, and a lot of people were not going to love it, but we had pretty high confidence that a lot of people would, because our PvP audience have been a bit,
I'm glad that they went forward with it. Like she said, they probably knew, they know their community. They knew that some people were going to be pissed. And those pissed off people, unfortunately, are usually the loud ones. They were going to make a lot of noise. But I'm glad they still went forward and did it anyways. Props to them for continuing forward and doing something and they were right. People did like it. There were a lot of people that liked it, despite the fact that you're going to hear those really loud naysayers. Those are always going to be around, and I hope they don't ever get scared off from doing something new because of them.
Waving, at us for some time.
What's up, baby J?
And we set ourselves some goals. Like, this is novelty. This isn't for the hardcore of the hardcore.
Right.
This was something people could participate in. We wanted to see what this level of novelty and charm in a very World of Warcraft way, how it would go over. So we set ourselves some goals just to measure against what our expectations were, and it outperformed those. So we're like, check, that's great.
Nice.
The team, of course, they're like, let's do, when are we going to bring it out again? And, let's plan for the next round. And then it's like, let's take a breath. We've got Remix coming for Miss Pandaria.
Looks like it's going to be a cool
event. We're really
event.
excited just from the response from that. It was an immediate, it didn't have the same divisiveness.
Yeah. Pandaria Remix is more core WoW, right? It fits more in with what World of Warcraft is, whereas Plunderstorm was a freaking BR in WoW. I don't think there's anything more opposite from than the two. But I'm so glad that they took that risk. And yeah, like you're saying, Rob, doing new stuff and taking risks is something they got to do, or it'll just get stale. Yeah, that's true. The dead gamers, you still play that dead game? Those guys, the day WoW will die is the day that it goes stale. That's right. The day they stop trying to do new things. That's for sure. We can always get a new season of raids and a new season of Mythic Plus, but eventually that does get old, and we've seen that. We feel that. Whenever we see the new shit, we're like, yeah, but okay, what else? We're always thinking, what else? And they are giving us a lot of what else lately, and that's a good thing. Whether it's Delves, whether it's these outside events with Remix or Plunderstorm, they're giving us a lot of what else, and that's a good thing.
It's a view that Plunderstorm did, we'll say. It seems to be broadly accepted, and we're going to see how that goes. And I'm sure you can.
It's going to be great for alts, man. A lot of people are going to do this.
A little bit more. There's mechanics that we have in there. We can look at the behavior of players, and we set ourselves goals. What do we think this is going to do? Who do we think this is actually for? Because now that we've broken our player base down from our data through observing behavior, we can identify different segments of our players, which is why you're seeing Delves. It's why you're seeing warbands. We can see that, for lack of a better term, our mid and casual players, they've been underserved, which is Dragonflight was our first.
The WoW dads, man. Look, it's an aging player group. That's for sure. I mean, a lot of people that still play this game started playing when they were 15, 16, 17 years old. Now they're in their 30s. Yeah, your time limitations have changed. That's for sure. And you want to get in here. And like I said, one thing that's crazy about Delves is we've never had that 10 to 15 minute thing, where you could just get in. You got 10 to 15 minutes. What can you do in WoW? You can't run a Mythic Plus. You can't run a raid. What are you going to do? Now you can do a Delve. It fits that time slot that we honestly been missing in the game for a while. It's really nice. And yeah, I do feel like they're definitely serving the WoW dads and moms, or the WoW, 30-year-old, I got a job now and everything, those people. Yeah, the casual gang. I know. Yeah, they exist. They're a big part of this game now. So it is good to see that, they're getting some love. That's for sure.
First attempt to
she
really
called me mid.
Target them.
That's true.
We want you.
She
here.
did.
We can do a better job with those players. I think we would always be humble and say we can do a better job for every segment, but we're always going to deliver what our current players expect of us, but we want to really push. So Remix is one of those, Plunderstorm is one of those, and if we come on something that is just an absolute hit, of course you'll see another version if the players want it. That's what drives
I think
us.
Plunderstorm will come back
But
for another season for sure.
You're familiar with Jeremy Fiesel, who's running the live team. And when when I talk to him and say, like, Jeremy, you and your team, go wackadoo. This is the space where we get to explore novelty and fun and whimsy. And the ideas that they've got, they are that. It's exciting. Yeah. But this is also a journey for this team, which was, it was a single unit that did everything. And I'm sure you can appreciate it's not healthy for a team to do that level of context switching.
Oh, definitely not.
So when we say to the live team, your job is the heartbeat. You're the heartbeat of the live game. Your job is to make the world feel alive and retain players.
100%. Like this is great management on her part to create teams like this, because she is that is on point. If you're doing a job, and I felt this at my own job before, when you start to get spread really thin, the quality of your work and each thing that you're doing definitely decreases. You're like, I got to get all this shit done, and you got to switch up your hats 100 times over because you're doing 20 different things. Most definitely. Whereas if you can focus and become hyper specialized in certain things, yeah, your quality of work shoots through the roof. That's definitely true. And I think we've seen that in our patches, in the stuff we're getting, and hopefully we're going to see it in the expansion, is that the quality of the things we're getting has certainly gone up.
All of our segments look for opportunities. And so it took until probably midway through last year to really see that come to life and to really see it work. We had time running, all of that, and now they're building upon that. So they get to focus on those goals, and the expansion focuses on the goals you would expect for the expansions.
Right.
So the features and everything's evergreen. And I will say we know what the feature set will be for the next one. We already know that. They're already working on it. Don't ask too many questions.
What will the new Silver Moon look like?
We're really thinking about the connective tissue between them all so that everything feels cohesive, the direction we're going in makes sense. We set lofty goals for ourselves. We want WoW to be...
Can I just say dynamic flying? It blew my mind how some of the animations they did. I thought it was going to look janky, and I thought they were just kind of patch it up, and here it is. Here's your flying horse. But I actually think a lot of them look really good. Like, really, really good. If you haven't seen them, I think I dropped a whole video about them. They look freaking amazing, some of these animations.
Goals for ourselves. We want...
That team has been doing a really good job with these.
Stable in the future, expand in the future, be inventive. We want to stay ahead. We want to stay ahead of the industry as well.
The Mimiron's head animation, yes, freaking amazing. Where the little helicopter thing goes into the back when they did this.
So more is
awesome.
Not always better.
If you have not seen the Hive Mind barrel roll animation yet, damn it, you got to check it out. Like I said, I have a video on my YouTube channel about all these animations. They look amazing.
In the sense that when
the Hive Mind one.
We knew,
yep,
8-week patches, right? When you make that as a statement, 8-week patches, each patch is not the same as, they're not equitable necessarily.
True.
They're also not received the same way. So, 10.2.5 didn't have a lot of staying power the same way 10.1.5 did. Mm-hmm. So there's a journey here where, there was a couple of patches we did that just had a disconnected set of additions. You might have heritage quests, look like it's a bit of this and a bit of that. And one of the problems we face is when we do those kinds of things is discoverability. So now that we know that, okay, well, now we need a plan for that in the future. And the team does have ideas on how do we improve discoverability in the game. So when I say more isn't better, it's that problem. We don't want people to feel... We don't want them to either miss out on something they would be interested in.
Sure.
Which is when we talk about looking at our data and getting a good understanding of our player segments, we should be able to deliver to you the kind of content you want to play like most technology does these days. So we're,
getting into that metadata.
We're looking pretty broadly.
How is the team improving content discoverability?
I'm sure you can imagine there's a lot of ways we could go. But I know on the live team, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Evan Lee. He's a lead on the team. But there's several ideas on how we get an understanding of the content you do regularly in the game. Prioritize.
Right, so if they looked at my content, they'd be like, damn, this guy gets on at like 5 a.m. and forms up a pug raid with a bunch of randos every morning and does a raid. I think I'm probably I'm a weirdo. When it comes, they're looking at this guy, they're like, what is he, on drugs? Why would he pug raid every single morning? Yeah, it's what I do, yeah. Yeah, but discoverability, sure. I think there are a lot of new players who get into the game, and you need that guide, right? You need somebody to kind of tell you things that you could do in the game because, yeah, it is hard. Now, the one thing I would say is dungeons and stuff. I think with those new AI, I forgot what they call them, the follower dungeons or whatever, it's going to be a nice introduction to people on how to do a dungeon, right? How roles work, how different things work. Where a lot of us, if you started playing back in classic days or like original vanilla WoW days, is what I'm saying, your first experience was maybe Dead Mines, and you didn't understand how roles worked yet, and you kind of got coached into roles by everybody you were running with. Now I think this thing will be able to teach people that, and going forward, who knows how other content will work, but maybe these new AI characters can help teach people things.
Is some of the things we may want to surface
it has to
that
get
you
carried,
may be interested in doing, particularly based on logins. So if you are a returning player, there may be some things we think are pivotal for you to take part in. And that's part of, we don't have that ready for War Within, but it's certainly on their roadmap. I'm not sure when that will come, but there's some really intelligent ways to approach that. If you're returning after a long while, how on earth do you get to know what has been happening in this game?
Yeah, it's a problem.
Like even if you dropped out in BFA or you decided to take a break at WAD.
Yeah, how do you come back? I know, it's true. Yeah, I have a cousin who left after BFA, and he was saying like, oh, the War Within kind of looks cool. The story, like, from what I've seen, looks cool. I'm thinking about coming back, but he goes, but I just feel overwhelmed. Like there's going to be all these new things that I don't know how to do. And he's right. There are all these new systems and shit. Like imagine you came back and you're like, what's going on? Oh my God. There's so many new things. You're going to have to deal with hero talents that you probably know nothing about. These new delves, sure. What else has changed since BFA? Oh my God, no more AP grinds. I guess the upgrade crest system, that's brand new. You probably don't know anything about the Catalyst yet because that came out in Shadowlands. There is a ton of new shit that you would have to deal with that you're like, is this even the same game anymore? And if you don't have somebody to guide you, it's tough to come back. Once you get out, you're free. Why would you come back? You always come back.
Right. So yeah,
it's like
so the team now
the
is
game,
talking about, and Maria as well, how do we package our narrative into something that's not just, okay, go ahead and sit through X hours of cinematics,
right?
But how do we piece together an experience that tells our history in a consumable way? So we're looking at, because frankly, we're going to drive as best we can to bring as many people back into our game as possible. Not just now, in the future, we're going to keep driving, make this game, shout from the rooftops that we're super awesome. We're going to be chasing, the best experience, the highest fantasy, the most immersion.
Sounds great.
And there's some really, really great ideas. But if we don't smooth out these bumps for new players, I think we're going to take a look at what we're doing for new players as well.
Yeah.
So it is a journey. And also, where are people playing? How do we meet them where they are? Like what platforms, what devices? And I'm not announcing anything. But these are all the things on our mind as we look at our UX and we look at our UI and how easy and consumable.
Sure. Oh my God, I forgot about the UI changes and profession change. Imagine you left a BFA, you come back and you were a profession Andy back then. Holy crap, you come back, you're like, where the hell did professions go? They're completely different, probably in a better way, but still, how are you going to read this? How are you going to learn that system? That's all new shit that you got to figure out. And then the UI, obviously, that's a whole new thing too. Your add-ons, how those work, man. Yeah, it's going to be hard for my cousin to come back. I'll help him, obviously. But there has been a lot of changes.
As our game.
What's up, Mr.
For
GM?
the different,
She half
players
announced something there. What did we miss? Oh, wow. What?
how easy and consumable is our game, for the different, player segments that are out there that feel like a good fit for us. Super long answer.
Let's see.
Interesting. Oh, did she announce a new system? Something coming? Console WoW? I don't know. Yeah, about other platforms. Yeah. Could she? Here we go. WoW on Xbox, boys and girls. I mean, with all the UI changes, if you want console WoW, right? And obviously, you can play console with a keyboard and mouse. That's a thing now. You have to eliminate the need for add-ons because consoles are just not going to have add-ons. That's not a thing. So I feel like all these UI changes, yeah, maybe they're leading to console WoW. Who knows? Yeah, playing with Xbox. I personally want it to happen because to me, if you bring WoW to console, what you're doing is expanding the player base. You're making more WoW players, and more WoW players is better for WoW. That's what I think. So yeah, do it. Go for it. I wish they would do it. WoW on iPhone. Oh man, I don't know about that. But the thing is, it'd be very good for the game. That's for sure. Is going forward with WoW going on and putting it on console. Just bring more people. Bigger Azeroth. Holy sh! Oh my God! Speaking of more people. Speaking of more people, thank you, Level Up Kent, for the raid. 122 of you in here. Oh my God, we are deep diving into some more Within content. This recent interview that just came out with Holly Longdale. Welcome in, boys and girls. This is the place to be. That's for sure. He picked the right stream this morning, the raid. Yeah, welcome in, guys. More people, the more the merrier. That's for sure. We're checking out this. Maybe Holly just announced WoW on console. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thank you, Level Up Cat.
So there we have it. I mean, man, the scoops. Lore catch-up in-game, new player experience changes being planned.
Interesting.
Them trying to avoid the bits of Dragonflight's patch cycle that didn't work as well, us learning how Team 2 is actually split up. And yeah, I mean, I really went into that interview wanting, I suppose, insight, a little bit of like her perspective to sort of understand how the game is actually being made. It's certainly fun with the experiments, that we can kind of expect more of them, and that the team is basically just got an actual ability to, I mean, a small subset, I suppose, of the team has this ability to just do cool shit. Mist of Pandaria Remix, of course, is an example of that, and just from us playing it on the PTR during its test weekend, man, it is really good. So it does make me excited about the sorts of things that, I guess, on all levels, they're going to be cooking up.
The future is bright.
Anyway, let me know what you thought, and if I do get another interview with Holly in the future, let me know what sorts of questions that you would have for her based on this interview. So that's it from me. Of course, we'll be back in the channel with a video tomorrow, so thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you then.
It was a great interview. He asked a lot of interesting questions, and from what I can gather, like going forward with WoW, we're going to have these teams working on multiple things at once, which is great, which means our roadmaps are always going to be filled with shit. We're going to keep getting those 8-week cadences of material. We're going to get faster expansions, that's for sure. And they're always looking, it looks like, at new ways to serve the WoW daddies and mommies and casuals out there. I think that's what Delves are kind of filling in, that 10 to 15 minute play space. I love what they're doing. I think Holly's done a great job so far. Like I said, Ian stuck through the bad and the good, and I think they're going back into the good now. And all these experimental events, not being afraid. Even though you're going to have the super loud, I think I call them, the loud minority, right? They're the loud Andes that are crying about putting a PvP BR into the game. Guess what? It was great that they did it. I'm happy they did it. I'm happy they weren't afraid to do it, and I hope they continue to do stuff like Remix, Plunderstorm, and everything else. Yeah, Blizzard got their shit together. I definitely agree. I think they're moving in the right direction. Yeah, that's for sure.